Welcome to this discussion on whether the Theacrine has merit as a standalone stimulant or works best when paired with caffeine. The supplement industry often touts the Theacrine as a smoother alternative to caffeine, suggesting it can deliver similar stimulation without the typical spike and crash. In this presentation, we will dissect research comparing the Theacrine alone, caffeine alone, and the two combined. We will explore pharmacology, performance outcomes, subjective effects, and practical dosing considerations so you can decide whether the Theacrine deserves a place in your regimen. The question of whether the Theacrine performs better by itself or only shines when stacked with caffeine is at the heart of this talk. The Theacrine is marketed as delivering smooth energy with a lower risk of habituation, but marketing claims do not always reflect real performance outcomes. Before deciding to swap out your coffee for this newcomer, it is important to examine whether the Theacrine can translate into tangible gains in speed, strength, or endurance on its own. We will delve into studies that investigate both solo use and combined use to see if the Theacrine truly lives up to its hype or if it is primarily useful as a supporting player. Alongside caffeine, many athletes are drawn to the idea of smooth, jitter-free energy and are curious whether the Theacrine can provide it. Caffeine remains the gold standard ergogenic aid, backed by decades of research demonstrating improved endurance, strength, and mental focus. The Theacrine promises a longer-lasting and less jittery experience thanks to its slower pharmacokinetics. In this section, we will compare the scientific evidence behind these claims, looking at how the Theacrine stacks up against caffeine for both subjective feel and objective performance outcomes. We will also discuss the concept of potential synergy when combining the two. The Theacrine is a purine alkaloid that closely resembles caffeine in structure. It is naturally synthesized from caffeine through an extra methylation step in certain wild tea plants. You can find it in Camellia cuccia and a few holly species, but is absent from typical green and black teas. Understanding the Theacrine's origins and molecular similarities to caffeine provides insight into why it might share some effects, while also differing in its onset and duration of action. Caffeine peaks in the bloodstream within roughly 1 hour after ingestion and is mostly cleared within 3 to 6 hours. The Theacrine behaves differently. It takes about 2 hours to reach peak levels and remains in the body much longer, with a half-life between 16 and 26 hours. This extended presence means its effects build more slowly and linger well into the day. Some users report that this longer duration feels smoother and less abrupt, but it also means prolonged exposure that could interfere with later activities if taken too late in the day. This slide compares the sources and metabolic pathways of the Theacrine and caffeine. The Theacrine comes from wild kucha tea and certain ilex species, while caffeine is found in coffee. Standard tea, yerba mate, and guarana. Both are purine alkaloids, but the Theacrine is tetramethyl-uric acid, whereas caffeine is trimethylxanthine. The Theacrine is synthesized from caffeine via N-methylation in plants, while caffeine itself is metabolized in the human body primarily by the liver enzyme CYP1A2 into multiple metabolites. Notably, the Theacrine is absent from most everyday teas, whereas caffeine is ubiquitous. Research on the Theacrine alone has explored its effects on sprint performance, agility, strength, and endurance. Across multiple trials, there is no consistent evidence that the Theacrine improves physical performance compared with placebo. Some participants report slight improvements in alertness or mood, but these subjective effects do not translate into measurable gains in speed, strength, or work capacity. The general consensus is that the Theacrine on its own does not provide meaningful ergogenic benefits. When researchers have looked specifically at sprint and agility tests, the Theacrine has not shown a significant impact. Studies that measure sprint times or agility drills report no meaningful differences between the Theacrine and placebo groups. While some users feel a mild lift in energy, this does not translate into faster running or improved coordination. The implication is that the Theacrine by itself cannot enhance explosive speed or quick changes of direction. Similar findings emerge when examining strength and endurance. In resistance training studies, participants taking the Theacrine did not exhibit improvements in 1 repetition maximum strength, total repetitions to failure, or power output compared with placebo. Even 8 weeks of supplementation did not improve aerobic capacity or muscular endurance. These results suggest that the Theacrine alone does not provide the physiological support needed to increase strength or stamina. Some trials report that the Theacrine produces modest improvements in perceived alertness or mood. However, these subjective effects are weaker and less consistent than those observed with caffeine. In direct comparisons, only caffeine significantly boosts energy, motivation, and focus relative to placebo. The Theacrine's ability to sustain mental drive during intense workouts appears limited. These findings indicate that any subjective uplift from the Theacrine may not be strong enough to support demanding physical or cognitive tasks. Taken together, the evidence for the Theacrine as a standalone performance enhancer is weak. Physical performance benefits are essentially absent, and subjective improvements in mood or alertness vary widely from study to study. On its own, the Theacrine does not justify replacing caffeine, which has a robust track record of enhancing athletic performance. At best, the Theacrine might offer a gentle lift in mood or alertness for some individuals without boosting their actual performance. Caffeine blocks adenosine receptors, reducing fatigue and enhancing alertness. It increases dopamine and norepinephrine signaling, which improves mood, vigilance, and cognitive performance. Numerous trials across endurance, power, sprint, and cognitive tasks show that caffeine reliably reduces perceived effort, prolongs time to exhaustion, and increases output. The typical effective dose for athletic performance falls between 3 and 6 milligrams per kilogram of body mass, though some individuals respond to as little as 2 milligrams per kilogram. Caffeine's benefits are well established. It can enhance endurance, improve power output, and sharpen reaction time. It also heightens perceived energy and focus, making workouts feel more manageable. However, there are downsides. High doses can cause jitters, anxiety, and gastrointestinal discomfort, and they may disrupt sleep if taken too late in the day. With frequent use, tolerance develops, meaning you need more caffeine to achieve the same effect. Balancing dose, timing, and frequency is essential to reap benefits while minimizing drawbacks. When comparing performance outcomes across stimulants, caffeine stands out with the highest subjective and objective gains. The Theacrine alone offers only weak physical performance effects. When the two are combined, performance improvements tend to fall somewhere in between. Subjective energy and focus may improve more than with the Theacrine alone, but not to the same degree as with caffeine alone, and objective gains remain limited. This comparison highlights that while combining the Theacrine and caffeine might modify the feel of stimulation, it does not necessarily exceed the performance benefits of caffeine by itself. There are reasons athletes and supplement formulators consider pairing the Theacrine with caffeine. Caffeine delivers rapid, robust stimulation and proven performance benefits. The Theacrine peaks later and lasts longer, potentially smoothing the energy curve and reducing the abruptness of a caffeine spike. Combining the two may provide a broader window of heightened focus and resistance to fatigue, which could be helpful during long training sessions, competitions, or demanding cognitive tasks. We will look at the research to see whether this theoretical synergy holds up in practice. Visualizing the energy curves helps illustrate the potential benefits of stacking stimulants. The Theacrine alone ramps up slowly and lingers due to its long half-life. Caffeine spikes quickly and then declines within a few hours. A combination dose can smooth out these peaks. An initial boost from caffeine is followed by sustained stimulation from the Theacrine. This smooth curve may help you avoid feeling overstimulated early on or crashing later, making it attractive for extended efforts. One crossover study compared 4 conditions in trained individuals: 300 milligrams of caffeine, 300 milligrams of the Theacrine, a combination of 150 milligrams of each, and a placebo. The researchers found no significant differences across treatments in measures of strength, sprint performance, or agility. Neither the Theacrine alone nor the combination outperformed caffeine in terms of perceived energy or motivation. These findings suggest that adding the Theacrine to caffeine does not improve physical performance relative to caffeine alone. Another study involving the proprietary product Theacrine compared the effects of caffeine, the Theacrine, and a combination in resistance-trained men. None of the treatments improved maximal strength, power, or muscular endurance compared with placebo. Only the caffeine group reported increased energy and motivation. This reinforces the idea that the Theacrine does not contribute to strength or endurance gains even when paired with caffeine. Some research has evaluated the effects of stimulant combinations in tactical personnel who need sustained vigilance. In studies comparing caffeine alone with caffeine plus the Theacrine and methylberberine, both the single and combined formulations improved reaction time during fatigue. Interestingly, the combination caused a smaller increase in diastolic blood pressure than caffeine alone, suggesting a potential cardiovascular advantage. However, these studies focus on cognitive outcomes under fatigue rather than physical performance, and their findings may not generalize to all athletes. The evidence for the Theacrine's ergogenic properties is limited and inconsistent. Many studies are small and short in duration, with little replication. While some report improvements in mood or attention when the Theacrine is used with caffeine, physical performance benefits remain inconsistent. Cognitive gains from combined stimulants are promising but cannot be assumed for all conditions. Larger, well-controlled trials are needed to clarify the true benefits and risks of the Theacrine, both alone and in combination. For caffeine, research supports a performance-enhancing dose between 3 and 6 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. Minimal effective doses start around 2 milligrams per kilogram. For the Theacrine, commonly studied doses range from 100 to 300 milligrams per day, with up to 300 milligrams considered safe in human studies. Start on the lower end of these ranges and monitor your response. Because the Theacrine has a long half-life of roughly 20 hours, avoid taking it late in the day. When stacking, combine modest doses and pay attention to tolerance and sleep quality. Optimizing timing is crucial when using stimulants. Use caffeine before high-intensity or shorter workouts to take advantage of its rapid onset. Employ the Theacrine for prolonged training sessions or competitions where sustained focus is needed. Stacking may be useful for long events or tactical operations requiring prolonged vigilance, but always monitor your sleep quality and adjust doses earlier in the day if you notice disruptions. Aim for a total stimulant strategy that matches your goals and schedule. While the Theacrine alone shows limited benefits, certain populations might consider it in combination with caffeine. Endurance athletes facing long races or training blocks may appreciate smoother, sustained energy. Team sport athletes who need repeated bursts of effort and sustained concentration might benefit from a combined approach. Tactical and military personnel who require vigilance over extended periods could find the combination useful. Gamers or individuals engaged in lengthy cognitive work may also be drawn to the sustained focus a combination provides. The Theacrine's long half-life means it can linger in your system for a day or more, so late-day doses may impair sleep. Stacking stimulants can elevate heart rate and blood pressure, so monitor your cardiovascular response if you use both caffeine and the Theacrine. Individuals with anxiety, heart conditions, pregnancy, or sleep disorders should consult a healthcare professional before experimenting with new stimulants. The Theacrine is not a magic substitute for proper rest, nutrition, and training. View it as a tool that may help under specific circumstances rather than a cure-all. Misconceptions abound when it comes to stimulants. The claim that the Theacrine alone boosts physical performance is not supported by current evidence. Most studies show minimal or no improvement in sprinting, strength, or endurance. The idea that the Theacrine can replace caffeine is also incorrect. Caffeine remains superior as an ergogenic aid. Combining the two does not guarantee better performance either. While it may enhance vigilance and subjective energy, objective gains are inconsistent. Finally, suggesting that there are no risks with the Theacrine overlooks its long half-life and potential cardiovascular effects. Prudent dosing and timing are essential. This comparison slide synthesizes key differences. The Theacrine has a slow onset and long duration, while caffeine acts quickly and has a shorter half-life. Physical performance evidence is strong for caffeine and limited for the Theacrine, with combinations providing mixed results. Cognitive and fatigue management improve markedly with caffeine and show promising improvements with the combination, whereas the Theacrine alone offers only modest benefits. Tolerance develops with caffeine, whereas preliminary data suggests lower habituation with the Theacrine, but the latter's long half-life requires careful monitoring of sleep and total intake. To summarize, the Theacrine alone offers limited physical benefits and inconsistent subjective effects. Caffeine alone remains a rapid and well-established performance enhancer across sports and cognitive tasks. The combination of caffeine and the Theacrine shows promise for improving focus and fatigue resistance during prolonged efforts, though objective performance gains are mixed. Your choice of stimulant strategy should depend on your specific goals, the duration of your activity, and your tolerance to each compound. Consider the context. Are you aiming for a short, intense workout or a long, steady effort? Tailor your intake accordingly. The Theacrine is a caffeine-like alkaloid with a slower onset and longer half-life. Research to date shows weak evidence that it improves sprinting, strength, or endurance on its own. Caffeine remains the proven performance agent within a range of roughly 3 to 6 milligrams per kilogram of body mass. Combining caffeine and the Theacrine may enhance focus and help resist fatigue over long periods, but it does not guarantee superior physical performance. View the Theacrine as a complementary partner that could smooth your energy curve rather than a replacement for caffeine's well-documented ergogenic benefits. The final verdict is that the Theacrine is not the new caffeine. On its own, it offers little in terms of physical performance benefits. When paired with caffeine, the Theacrine may provide a smoother stimulation profile and support cognitive endurance, but it still does not outperform caffeine for strength, power, or endurance. Therefore, think of the Theacrine as a partner rather than a replacement. Use it strategically in combination with caffeine if you want smoother energy during long sessions, but continue to rely on caffeine as a primary stimulant with proven ergogenic effects.